So today we are going to be on for just over an hour. And before our time together ends, I want to make sure that you all understand the pitfalls to short-term property ownership in Panama. And I also want to make sure to share what I know, which I think is the inside track on the best model for renting out existing property right now in the city. And for those of you who don't own property in Panama yet, I'll also be sharing sort of towards the end some pre-construction pricing on a project that is finally breaking the mold of a traditional vacation rental model. So stick around to the end and you're going to get at least three things. Number one, clarity on the legal landscape. I'm going to be sharing some proven strategies that are already working, and also as much market insight as I can pack into this 1 hour presentation about what's going on with the rental and real estate landscape in Panama City, Panama in October of 2024. So, bit about me. There I am. I don't think I had kids in that picture yet. That was a while ago. A lovely headline, but hey, like they say about the press, all press is good press, right? I think that's the Wall Street Journal. Might have been USA Today. I've been in Time Magazine, Financial Times, as you can see, El Capital Financiero, which is our version of Wall Street Journal. You know, I've been doing this since 2007, guys. That's me. Panama Equity is my company. And hey, there's my team. A bit about my team. Well, there you can see them. There's a few folks not pictured on the left-hand side. Matthew Marks is not in that picture. Let's see. Carlos Munoz is also not in that picture. But anyway, I've got a great team. Everybody is fully bilingual. Some people even speak different languages other than English and Spanish. But everybody's a straight shooter and a hard worker there. Same thing on the right-hand side. I wish my 11-year-old was a bit harder of a worker, but hey, it is what it is. And my other two boys, my wife, Emily, who is from Panama City, Panama. So, you guys ready? Let's get to it. So, kind of 10,000 foot view about the short-term rental landscape right now. Now, when I say short-term, I'm talking about anything under, say, 30 days, right? I am going to show you in the next slide some real-time Airbnb numbers and sneak preview. They're not that great. Going to explain why hotel occupancy right now is generally running under 50%. And I'm also going to take quite a bit of time to explore a market that I think is being overlooked, ironically, due to greed. So that'll make sense here in a second. But first of all, this is an awesome slide from AirDNA. If you don't know about it yet, make sure to check it out, www.airdna.com. You can see here some important statistics on the Airbnb market. So what do I draw from it? The average Airbnb is only getting rented out about half the month. And for general properties, that is basically under $1,500 a month in revenue and figure around $8,000 a year. And that's before all the fees. That's top line. We're going to talk about this market throughout the presentation. But the main takeaway is that the short-term 3 to 5 day stay is a very red ocean market. Okay. Vacation rentals, going after those guys, red ocean. In case you've never heard that expression, it's referring to a marketplace as being super competitive, like an ocean filled with sharks in a feeding frenzy. And while the tourism market is definitely starting to pick back up finally after the pandemic, hotels right now are not doing a whole lot better. Don't forget, guys, hotels usually start hitting a profit around 60% occupancy. Right now, they're running just over 52%. So as you can read on the conclusion, while Panama is seeing an uptick in travelers, hotels are still not at that threshold that even they need to be about. And of course, in those environments, what happens? Prices drop, right? So I say don't even compete with the hotels. We'll get there. So here's the first thing that I think nobody's paying attention to. There is one hotel that's running almost full occupancy year round. Oh, it's kind of expensive too. Why? because it's walking distance to some of the largest multinational offices in Panama. It's in an upscale area, and it's about a 12-minute drive to the international airport. Figure 10 minutes to the city, no traffic. I'm going to tell you about everything they are doing right here in a second. And the second thing I don't think anybody is paying attention to, which I've already alluded to in my email introduction to this, is the fact that the midterm market is completely untapped. So this midterm market is basically stays of an average of about 90 days at a time. Think, corporate relocations, retirees trying out Panama to see if it makes sense, travelers who like to work remotely and travel the world, the digital nomads types. Basically, you've got this huge market of people looking for stays of around 90 days at a time. And obviously, as the world gets more turbulent, Panama becomes more attractive to these kind of people. So I'm going to show you why that market is also growing. And the problem is that there are very few options in Panama City that are available for uninterrupted stays of 30 days or more. So remember this slide? Obviously, lots going on here, but my takeaway is that almost all of the Airbnbs in Panama are at least 40% occupied. And what 40% do you think that is? I say weekends, right? It's easy to rent out your property on a weekend, pretty much all over the city. And I think that's where greed comes into play, because property owners right now in Panama are so greedy and so short-sighted to get those little crumbs that they are not thinking big picture and going after this midterm market. So these two factors together, I think, represent a blue ocean. Remember the red ocean I was talking about? The hotel owners and the short-term Airbnb sharks all over the city fighting in the water for tourists. I say let them fight. Because the people that have already tapped into the midterm market are doing really well. And they have been for a few years now. So 3 little secrets I'm going to let you in on today. Secret number 1, why we believe that we are in the middle of another wave of immigration to Panama. It's kind of happening. I'm going to tell you who's getting caught and how to run a short-term rental legally in Panama, and who is winning in this market right now and how they are doing it. So right now, Panama is kind of in a perfect storm. For starters, the cruise season has just started, and we are looking at a number of visitors, especially now that the cruise ship terminal is finally operational. That means for the first time ever, people are going to start and end cruises in Panama City this year, finally. Yes. Cruisers are actually just regular tourists, usually staying for a few days at a time. But guys, that's the tip of the iceberg. Last month, Ambev, the world's largest brewer, announced that they're going to be opening up operations in Panama. Sandals recently established their regional headquarters in Panama, and the list of multinationals already established here continues to grow. All those things are trending and proven. And for those of you who don't really know the story of Panama, for those of you who do know the story of Panama, you know that this real estate market has historically been driven by outsiders. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was wealthy families moving from Central America, escaping government regimes. Then in the 2000s, Venezuelans started pouring in a big way. And during the run-up of the real estate market leading to 2009, Americans started coming in droves. My people, as an American. Last year, we had a record number of Colombians moving their businesses and their families here. This year, we've had a huge escalation of Europeans, particularly the French, leaving in droves because of major changes in their laws. And now it's the Americans, once again, who've been looking for their plan B for a number of reasons. What we here at Panama Equity hear most from our American clients, especially the people that have moved to Panama, is that they left because of maybe it's the political situation, rising cost of living, and in some cases, like a red hot, unaffordable real estate market. So these last few weeks have also been kind of good for us as a company with potential expats who either want to get out of Florida or are no longer considering it, but still want somewhere warm, tropical, and in a U.S. time zone. My point is this. All the people I just mentioned in the previous slides are just starting to come into Panama in huge numbers, and most of them are not your traditional 3 to 5 day hotel guests. These expats, corporate transfers, and retirees are all looking for a home base in Panama to land for at least a month or two while they're looking for permanent housing. The corporate transfers want to be close to work, and the expats just want somewhere comfortable so they can start their search for a full-time option. And hotels just don't work. But here's the crazy thing. If you go to Airbnb right now and try to find a place in the city to stay for, say, 60 consecutive days, you cannot find one. Because the majority of the owners right now are going after those weekenders and those short-term tourists. So you got a ton of places available, but not for long, interrupted stretches. So, secret number 2, the players in the game and the games they play. Thought that was kind of a scandalous title. So here's something you probably already know. Short-term rentals are illegal in Panama City, Panama. But if you go online, you're going to see hundreds of properties listed on Airbnb. Most of them are illegal. 99% of them are illegal. But did you know there's a way to register your property as a short-term rental? So we've got this on our website. But here's how you can register your property as a short-term rental in Panama. But the long story short of it is it takes forever. And once you get it done, ta-da, you are now competing with all of the hotels and illegal Airbnb rentals in Panama. But guys, you already know that's a red ocean. So let me tell you a little story quickly. I was actually one of those people. Back in 2015, my wife and I bought a condo out on the Amador Causeway, and our plan was to go after the short-term rental market. It was our first investment property, and it was going to be used to pay for our kids' school. We were so excited. And that first year was an absolute disaster. Things got broken. Visitors pretty much trashed our place, and there were long stretches of vacancy, guys, that left me, the real estate expert, kind of questioning our decision to pour our savings, life savings, into an investment property. But then I met Michael, who you guys are going to meet in a second. He showed me what he was doing in Brazil and what he was planning to do in Panama, and he ultimately convinced us to take the leap and block off Airbnb for a minimum of 5-day periods. And it's working. Finally. Don't get me wrong here, guys. Owning an Airbnb or vacation rental property is actually awesome. As you can see here on the slide, you get to use it when you want to. You can block off nights for family, and you do get a higher yield. Not just top line, but bottom line. Higher return on investment than a 12-month lease. So there are some benefits to owning this kind of property other than just income. But hey, if it's a rental property, that's kind of important. So let's talk secret number 3, how to compete and win in Panama. So I'm getting ready to add Mr. Michael here. Let's see here. Michael, come on down. So I'm going to introduce Michael while he is logging in here. He's a friend and fellow business owner, Michael Slowik. Michael moved to Panama in 2006 after having developed a massively successful midterm rental platform in Brazil. Guys, he's got 30,000 property listings on his site. He just rolled out this platform here in Panama, and I think he's a very credible source that you are going to appreciate hearing from. So, without further ado, let me make sure Michael has a link. because he's the man. All right, guys. Hopefully Michael will be able to join us here. I told him he'd be on at around 10:30. I was talking kind of fast, but Michael's going to share some insight. There he is.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
Ta-da. Hey, Michael. How are you, buddy?
Great. How are you doing?
Fantastic. So to get started, Michael, if you could tell our good folks here what you developed in Brazil and how it's going right now for you.
So hello everyone. My name is Michael. I am CEO and founder of Flat. My story was I spent more than 9 years living digital nomad life. Since I was 18, essentially I left my home. I was traveling around the world and always searching for this accommodation for 1 month plus. It was always very hard to find, like everywhere I fly, it was just this kind of market that was just impossible to grab. You would have to go to listing pages and negotiate with landlords. And right after 2008 crisis, when real estate bubble burst, at this time I was in São Paulo, and I was struggling really hard to find anything for 1 month plus. And someone said, like, dude, you are working prop tech or your career, maybe open a platform for that. So I did. It was 2009. I opened my first. Actually, it started as just kind of the agency where we wanted to do the monthly rentals, 1 month plus stays. And I tried to do my customer dream, which is like, having videos, photos, descriptions. We started with 6 units. Today, we work with around 30,000 units. So we got this entire journey from nothing to huge portfolio. And when we was starting, the demand was nuts. We had a queue of people outside of our office trying to sign the contract. We discovered an entire world of people needing monthly rentals. You would have no idea how many people need to stay somewhere for a couple of months. There are, you might need an operation. You need to stay nearby hospital, you and your family. You might need to study, business. Like there is just so much different angles. And then came residential tourism, which what's happening now. People start to be digital nomads themselves. They start to work remotely. And there is more and more different layers of society joining this monthly business.
So, Michael, let me interrupt you for a second,
Sure.
and just make sure folks kind of caught some of the real top level highlights here. So, Michael developed this platform, Flats. It's flats.com. Is that right?
It's you can check. We operate mainly in Brazil, which is flat.com.br, and our recent version is flat.com.pa, which is operation in Panama. But next month we're doing massive launch with a new product here. But yeah, you can, if you Google Flat Brazil or Flat Panama, you will find us.
Yeah. So I guess, Michael, one of the things I also want to kind of highlight or circle back on, just so it's relevant for the people watching, is of course Brazil is a massive market, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's in Sao Paulo, it's like probably 5 times the population of the whole country of Panama, right? But are you seeing some parallels in terms of the types of people looking for midterm market rentals here in Panama? You mentioned people coming for medical tourism, people relocating, sort of travelers that want to stay for longer distance. I see them, but I want to also check in with you.
I see a lot of the same things I see in Brazil here in Panama. And essentially, I see the same key drivers for the market I see in Brazil. And there are essentially 3 reasons why you would do midterm rentals. So number one is that people doing midterm rentals can rent properties entirely online. If you do long terms, you will need agent constantly visiting your apartment. It's very foot on the ground operation to do the long term operation, to do the long term rental. When you do the midterms, when you do 90-day rentals, people can do the bookings completely online, like they do an Airbnb. So that way, you just have essentially online booking and check in, check out every 3 to 6 months, something like that. It's not much work at all. So number one, those rentals can be done online. We see the same in Panama. We see the same in Brazil. People just starting to research abroad when they are in Canada or in US, and then they would like to come here when they have ready unit. The second thing is the higher incomes. So when you got Airbnb in the best location, you can really have very high returns. So let's say unit that you would rent for $1,000, you can make it $2,000. But it's a very exceptional case that you got this like jewel like in the middle of Costa del Este or something like that. But then this is the thing, when you do the monthly rentals, you would get in that case 1,600. So you would have higher return comparing to the long terms, with much less work. Like with Airbnb, it's a job. You have to respond your message in the nighttime. You have check in, check out all the time. You need complete operation. With the monthly stays, it's not much work at all. Plus, there is this thing that another thing we see the same in Brazil and in Panama is extension rate. So normally people want to rent something for a month or two, but actually they would like to try to live in that place. And we see around 60% extension rate, which is essentially mean every time somebody is about to check out, there is higher chance he will extend his stay than he will leave. So we constantly see those extensions, and we got clients staying for years, paying this extra premium rent, and they are fine with that. They're just paying for flexibility. And the last, and I probably here in Panama might be one of the most important benefits, is the different profile of clients. So I give you an example. Like we work a lot in the region of the beach, like Coronado, like San Carlos. You might have very expensive apartment. You might charge $300 per month or more, but then every group can afford to pay this rate for 1 or 2 nights. So you would constantly see group of 8 people renting your apartment, splitting that rent, and essentially using very hard your property. So even if
in a traditional vacation rental model.
And it might be young folks partying. Like I heard so many stories. You don't want to hear the stories people have renting apartments for the weekends. What happened in their units? What kind of things the cleaning department have to work with? You don't want to hear that. Versus if you got extended stay clients, number one, not everyone can afford high rent. You can afford to pay 1 night of the expensive hotel, but doesn't mean you can afford to pay $3,000 rent every month, right? So this right away filters some making kind of filtering. And the second thing is, typically those people would like to be part of local community. So when you travel for the weekend, you demand, right? You just want to have fun, you want to relax, you want to, kick it off, and you expect that, that the property is serving you. When you're staying for a few months, you want to belong to that. You want to try to leave that place. You are nice to your neighbors. You don't want to make noise. You want to be part of society. So
you're just a better tenant. You behave better. You take better care of the place.
We constantly hearing like, okay, what about security deposits? We're saying, to be honest, the incident rate is so low that we just constantly putting our deposits down or even no deposit, because the biggest threat you got is essentially unpaid electricity bill. That's what can happen, or delayed internet bill, things like that. But heavy damages to property, those tenants are really good. Like typically they're educated, they're professionals.
No, Michael, I mean, man, we could do, I feel like you've got such a wealth of information. We should probably do a second presentation. But I want to kind of give people top level and also circle back to a couple things that you mentioned. One thing Michael mentioned, guys, and one reason he's on the call is this guy's a whiz, as you can already see. He has developed a platform in Panama that uses Matterport technology, right? So everybody kind of knows about that. It's this 3D and full spatial imaging, photography, high res, blah, blah, all of that, which is not revolutionary. But what he's done is 2 things. Number one, it's kind of a cool platform. You can do a phone call and a virtual tour while you're on the call with the person. And that leads to a point that I'd also want to re-mention for any DIYers, any do-it-yourselfers out there that want to take your property and run with these ideas. And I'm going to get into some specifics here in the next few slides about what you can expect, what you need to do, where you need to list, and all that jazz. But what Michael said, which was an epiphany for me as I was planning this presentation, is if you have to show your property to a potential tenant, it's not going to work. Because to try to find an agent to go show a property for a 3-month rental, forget about it. Unless they own the property or unless they're an hourly agent, and there's not too many of those. But with his technology, and there's also other technology you can do this with, but Michael's got a nice product that supports his flats.com sort of model, which is being able to take a preview of the property, walk through, and in fact, even do a walkthrough with an agent. So Michael, I do kind of have to keep jamming on this webinar here, but man, you have a ton of info. And guys, feel free to chat your questions at the end. If we need to bring Michael back on, maybe he'll be available, but otherwise I'll make sure to either put you in touch with him directly or otherwise get his response to any questions you have at the end. Michael, any closing thoughts, my friend? And sorry to
Yeah,
cut you
I
off.
can just
You're a
close on
sharp
what you
dude.
said. There is one single secret to how to do the monthly rentals and keep quality of your listing very high. And we tried everything. And today's technology that we use, which is essentially Matterport virtual tours, giving client enough confidence to do rental completely online. And if you will use the same marketing approach as you do with daily rentals, you will fail with the midterms. Like you have to deliver exceptional quality of your listings. So client know what I see, what I get. I guess that's
Yeah, no, agreed, man. Agreed. Wonderful. Well, Michael, thank you for making the time to come
thanks.
speak to our folks, my friend, and have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, buddy. All right, guys. Yeah, much as I hate to, have to keep moving on, because Michael's got a ton of info. Let's continue. Uh, but yeah, tons of good info, and I can share the link to his website and his bio. Just shoot me an email directly. So let's get into the nitty gritty here, guys, because that is the idea of the webinar. And for folks watching today who already own a property, I'm going to get back to you in about 4 slides. But if you're on here and considering a purchase of property, step one is to pick the right area, because in real estate, obviously it's no secret, right? Location is key. Right now, most of our hotels are concentrated in the middle of the city. Same thing with Airbnbs, actually. Lots of competition. So I would say buyer beware if you're going to try to compete directly with the hotels in the middle of the city. So I actually like 3 areas a lot. The first area I'm going to tell you about real quick is Costa del Este. You'll recall the name from earlier because that's where the Westin is. All right, I'm going to try to do a quick video here. I think it'll start when I hit next. Let's see. Yeah. So I'm going to zoom forward on this for a minute, but this is the new town center. Super awesome. Let's see if I can actually. Darn. I was hoping to get to minute 2. Sorry guys. I didn't practice this. Bear with me. The video gets a lot better in about 1 minute, and it's a total of 2 minutes, 30 seconds. I think this was originally shot for a developer looking for land next to the new shopping center and the new hospital. So that's Costa del Este Town Center, Johns Hopkins right next to it. The project we're going to talk about is actually right in front of there. But get it here in a second. He's going to go up. Sorry if this is making anyone seasick. My idea was to zoom through this, but you're going to see in about a minute after the elegant zoom in of that traffic circle, a full pan of Costa del Este. Costa del Este is what I described earlier. It's about 10 minutes from downtown, 12 minutes from the International Hotel and International Airport, excuse me. And it's lovely. They have parks. It's right on the water. Here we go. I think we're going to pan finally. Um, it is right on the water, which you're going to see in a second. There's a nice boulevard there, a bunch of high rises. Some of the highest buildings in the city are in Costa del Este as well. Really upscale, super safe, hundreds of restaurants, great for outdoors. Just a nice lifestyle neighborhood. Also, a lot of good schools for anybody considering that. Again, sorry, promise. The whole video is only 3 minutes. Almost to the good part. Here we go. It's gonna pan right any second now. Hope you can hear this music. All right, there we go. Costa del Este. So that's looking towards the international airport. Super high towers, right on the water. There's a boulevard there that you can ride a bike down or go jog down, and there's Panama City. Voila. There's our video of Costa del Este, just to give you some ideas. So I do like that area a lot. Here's the thing about Costa del Este. So where all of our corporate headquarters are, or a lot of them, I should say, nice schools, big brand new shopping mall, big brand new hospital that you got to stare at for a minute and a half. It's a great place to live full time and an even better place to stay when you're first landing in Panama. And all these guys have headquarters here. And here's the pictures of the Westin, Costa del Este, walking distance to the major corporate headquarters, smack dab in the middle of Costa del Este. Hotel rooms are kind of expensive because they don't have a whole lot of competition. Takeaway, guys, is there's already a shortage of hotel rooms in Costa del Este. It's the exception to the rule. But again, I don't think that's the battle that we want to fight right now. I think the angle is to complement hotel rooms, or at the very least be an alternative for longer stays. So just stay with me. I've got one more neighborhood to show you, and then I'm going to get my next guest on. Neighborhood number 2 is Casco Viejo. Beautiful area, second most visited spot in Panama behind the canal. You've got 2 amazing new hotels in Casco right now, La Compañía and Sofitel. They are crushing it and bringing a new profile of traveler and buyer to Panama. So we love that. There are also more than 100 Airbnbs currently illegally operating in Casco. So you got some very stiff competition, and I would argue a very congested marketplace. But it is an awesome area. And if you're considering purchase for a midterm rental property, I also like Casco Viejo. Third area, finally, is where I own, out on the Causeway. Really awesome area, just outside of Casco, kind of outside of the city, but not that far away. Right on the water. So you got like biking trails, tons of restaurants, just a really cool spot out on the Causeway. I might do a whole nother presentation on the Causeway because there's some cool things happening out there. Feel free to email me directly. And it's not for everybody. Our typical tenant is somebody who wants to be near the city, but not right in the middle of the action. So yeah, those 3 areas I think are really interesting for this midterm market. All right. So let's take a pause here for a minute. So far, I've showed you a bit about Panama's trajectory, and we've looked at some statistics. Now is the point in the conversation to show you what I think is the solution, the way forward, and the best way to make money in Panama. I'm going to explain the strategy for capturing a midterm rental tenant for the people who already own property. And after that, I'm going to show you development that's going after the right market in the right way that hotels have not been able to serve. So solution number 1, you already know this, the midterm market is untapped and it's growing. The great thing about it is that it's really tricky to switch from a short-term model to a midterm model because most owners' Airbnb calendars are booked up for the next few months, just with weekend travelers though. So they're kind of getting that low-hanging fruit, but it doesn't taste that good. So midterm rental costs. You will have all of your rental ownership overhead, plus you got to pay power, you got to pay internet, cleaning can be a pass-through cost. Upkeep, I would say, is generally about 1.5, what we found in terms of, yes, you will have to replace your furniture a little bit more often, but not nearly as often as with a short-term rental market. And you will have slightly higher property management fees, generally between 15 and 20. We do 15 for mids, 10% for long-term rentals. So you've got that. But you also have what we've seen is about a 50% higher revenue, in some cases a little bit more, on the top line figure for the midterm. And you don't have that turnover. You don't have that super high wear and tear, and you just get a better quality tenant. All the reasons that Michael talked about. So for our current and future owners considering putting your property on the market for a long or short term, I obviously consider the midterm market. It is going to take some resolve to switch over your booking calendar to 45 days or more on Airbnb. But trust me, I believe this is the future. And I hope that in a year you'll look back and compare your bottom line. Here at Panama Equity, we can do this. You can hire a different property manager. You can do it on your own. All good. I just want you guys to know about this because the more people that are winning in Panama, the better it is for Panama. Either way, you want to make sure, like Michael mentioned, that you can do virtual tours for any potential tenants. Yes, you will list on all the listing sites. So while I said Airbnb is dead, it's not. It's a great platform to use. You just need to set your settings so that you get those longer terms. What we do is kind of tweak it because we actually cut it up for short term right around the holidays. You can do that. You can totally do that on Airbnb. Consider a standalone website. There are some best practices to running a vacation rental. Obviously, you want to equip your property, things like always including a workspace, a desk. There are companies like Larm and Suma who do corporate relocation. So you want to connect with those guys. We're connected with them already. Make sure they're aware of your inventory if you wanted to do it yourself. And understand that you are running a business. You got to have a good house cleaner and you got to have a good handyman. Everything else you can kind of do from abroad. But what Michael said is A, you got to have the ability to do virtual tours, and B, be ready to like answer quickly. You know, there are Airbnb administrators that are virtual now. They're really promoting that. So you can find someone that can Airbnb manage your property. You give them the cleaning person, you give them the handyman, and then you can do this on your own. We also do this. But you got to be prepared to either handle it. You just see it on the slide. Marketing channels. You can use sites like AirDNA, which is great. So yeah, there are some best practices, tons of blogs out there as well. Or like I said, you can let us do it, or you can get someone like Bern. So for anyone today who is considering purchasing a property in the city, I want to present option number 2, which is investing with an experienced partner. In this case, Empresas Bern. I'm going to show you development that literally broke ground on Friday, so your timing is good. But first, let's talk location, because Bern does have a lot of projects on the go right now. Remember that one lonely hotel that's absolutely crushing it, right by all the corporate centers and about 12 minutes from the international airport? Well, that's the Westin, and that's in Costa del Este. And Bern built that. Guys, this is Generation Tower. And this is going less than a half a mile from that Westin. They've just started construction, meaning your risk has been hugely diminished because bank financing for this project is guaranteed. And a little secret, they've already sold about 50% of the project with not a whole lot of marketing. They've got all the approvals from the tourism authorities. They've already done that. If you wanted to do vacation rentals, including obviously midterm rentals. Plus, it's got a list of 5-star amenities, which I'm going to show you in a second. But here's the coolest part and a really interesting second angle, guys. Generation Tower has something that nobody is doing yet in Panama: assisted living. So next on our call, I want to invite Miss Liz Laroquette, who's been with Bern for quite some time. Liz has also become a friend. She's a wonderful human, hard worker, been with Bern for, I think, over a decade. I'm looking forward to getting her on. Come on, Liz. Come on over.
You see me?
There she is. I hear you and I see you. Woo, we did it.
It's always so nerve-wracking with this technology that it's going to work properly. I'm so happy I'm in.
Oh, thank you for joining us, Liz. So a couple questions for you. I want to put you on the spot here, but you can handle that because you're an expert.
I can do it. I can handle it.
Yes, and thank you for joining us. So Generation Tower, why do you think this particular project is well situated for this midterm market we're talking about?
Okay, like what I've found, I've been doing this actually 16 years, which is, I just can't even believe it. But anyway, what we're finding is that there's definitely a niche market in the Costa del Este area, and that's because of all the multinational companies that you mentioned. There's only a few buildings in all of Costa del Este with smaller apartments. So originally, like Costa del Este was for wealthy families that are after large units. So like the average price point in Costa del Este is about sort of 500,000 to 700,000, and the average sized units 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. So the niche is definitely smaller units. Bern built 2 other buildings in Costa del Este, one is, Parkside and Riverside.
Of course.
And they've had on-site property management there. The management company that Bern used to own, but it's been bought out by one of their employees, has over 100 units in Costa del Este and along Avenida Balboa. And pretty much the Costa del Este units, like the leases finish in the morning and by the afternoon they've got them filled again. And they do tons of midterm rentals because a lot of these executive companies are bringing employees down for a few month stints. They either rent them long term and then they rotate the employees, or they do sort of midterm rentals. So I think Costa del Este for investors is a good fit because there's not a whole lot of competition. Like you said, there's only the Western Hotel doing the short-term rental piece. Occupancy is super high. But the global trend, what we've been seeing with Airbnbs, people are looking for amenities. And the problem with Airbnb is that there's no quality control, right? It's harder, and a lot of people are looking for and missing out on amenities where they're like, I want a kitchen, I want to be able to stay for longer periods of time, I want all the amenities, but I don't want the hassle. And so Bern, as a group, are also the largest hotel group in Panama. So they own like over nine hotels, like a couple of the Western there in Costa del Este you mentioned. There's a Western Playa Bonita, Crown Plaza, Holiday Inn, like a ton of hotels. So they're used to managing properties, but they also want to fit in with the global trend of that Airbnb concept, but with the additional extras of a hotel, like hybrid concept. So that's where that's where the idea for Generation Tower came in.
I love it. No, that's what you've just said really encapsulates everything I've been trying to say, but you just say it so much better. I love it. No, and listen, guys, I mean, Bern, I'm going to tell you about Bern here in a second, but they are the big boys. They've been around for a long time. I think like 40 years, Liz? Yeah.
Family-owned company. Yeah.
Yeah, family-owned company, and that's what you want. So let's talk for a minute about this assisted living angle. Why did you guys decide to do that, and how do you think you can pull it off? Because some have tried, but I think if anybody can do it, the reason you're on here is because Bern can, with their hospitality experience, with their construction experience, and just sort of market 10,000-foot view versus including what's going on abroad and what's going on here. So talk to us about assisted living and kind of what's the angle with this?
Well, look, I think you made a super valid point before where you're like the Panama real estate market and the market for investors generally tends to be from people abroad. Because the population here is small. What are we, like 4.5 million or tiny population? So our market really is the market from abroad. And what we've seen over the years is that we've got this massive wave of snowbirds that are moving out of the US. That's one of our largest markets. And then the new emerging markets, as you mentioned before, France and definitely Germany and our South American, Colombian and a lot of other countries in South America, people are looking for investment properties abroad. But the big solid market's definitely the North American market. People are looking for a place to snowbird, to get away from winter months. They're looking for a place where they can diversify. People are wanting to take money out of the stock market these days. With the election coming up, no matter what way it goes, we will continue to see people move down here. And a lot of people are already... I think we're going to be really busy.
Oh my God. No, I love how up in the north, like the election feels, and I don't know what it's going to end up being, but if it's not 50-50, it's, 60-40 or 65-35. So guaranteed there's going to be at least 35% of the people that are real unhappy, whichever way it goes. I like the U.S. market post-election because we are seeing a ton pre-election. Liz, let's do this. We hadn't planned on this, but if you've got another 10 minutes, I would love for you to just be on the presentation while I go through your project. We've only got about 8 more slides, and then I'm going to open it up to Q&A because we might even get some questions about your project that I can't answer. Would you be okay? You got another 10 minutes or so?
Sure.
You're a doll. Thank you. Let's see. So, okay, guys, here's some more images of Generation Tower. I do think it's perfectly positioned to dominate in the new midterm niche. And when you get a property fresh and brand new with no future bookings to worry about, I promise you that gives you a leg up on the competition because you can start blocking off longer stays from day one. And just, I mean, look at these pictures, guys. Very, very nice stuff. We'll talk amenities here in a second, but now that we have heard from Liz, and again, Liz, thank you for staying on. I want to keep circling back to you. There is a lot going on with Generation Tower. I think the first angle is simply a footprint in Panama. Maybe that means escaping for a few months or a few weeks at a time to get away from all the politics, cold weather, hurricanes, depending on where you live. Maybe it's simply diversifying your assets away from what could feel like an overheated, somewhat inflation-prone economy. I personally love the assisted living angle. I want to get Liz back on this slide here in a second, but let me just say this part. Some statistics for you. So next year, there are going to be 7 million people aged 85 and older in the U.S. alone. 7 million over 85, right? The average monthly cost of assisted living in the U.S. has increased by over 30% in the last 2 years. A lot of these folks are on fixed income. I'm going to be honest here. I don't think it's reasonable to expect a wave of families to move their parents to Panama if they don't already live here. That's almost cruel. But what I can tell you is this. There are already thousands of expats living in Panama. And I would estimate their average age is probably just over 50, putting their parents smack dab in the middle of that target market for what is only 162 units, of which 87 are already sold. So Liz, coming back to you, my dear, let's talk this assisted living angle here for a second. I believe the assisted living wing is going to be on the lower floors. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's actually going to be more like independent living. So it's going to be for people that want to move into a building. A lot of people that are buying are people that are single, they're widowed, or they're just single, or couples, people that are worried about what's going to happen in the future. The project, as you mentioned before, sits across the street from Town Centre Mall, across the street from the Johns Hopkins affiliated hospital, Pacifica Salud. The lower floors will have nurses' stations. They'll also have their own social areas. And the building itself, the building administration and the rental management program called B, which is owned and run by Empresas Bern, will be looking after all of the short-term, mid-term and long-term rentals in the project as a whole. And then on the lower floors, investors can buy into there. They can put it in the on-site management program. And then later on, if they decide they want to move in, they just take it out of the rental program and then they can live there without any restrictions. And it's for people that want to be, I mean, it sounds a bit cheesy, but the building's called Generation Tower because it really is for all generations. And it's a place where people can move in there and have access to all the restaurants on site, have access to all the hotel amenities on site, and be around other like-minded people. And it'll be a vibrant building where, you're not going to just move in there and be, feeling isolated. So, yeah.
I love it. Yeah. And, guys, you know how many projects there are like this in Panama? None. You know how many projects like this there are all over the world? A lot. So I do like the angle. I think it's super interesting. And it's just another sort of feather in your hat. If you wanted to go that route, I think it's interesting. It's certainly not, you're not obligated to put it in to that, what do we call it? Independent living?
Yep.
Independent living wing. But yeah, so let's talk numbers real quick. And of course, I've got detailed pro formas that I can go over with anybody who's interested one-on-one. But top line revenue on a smaller unit, and let's just run this super conservative. Say 3 tenants, each staying 3 months. And another thing I like that Michael mentioned, and we've seen it too, is he used the right word too, is a very technical word. Basically re-upping your lease, so extending your lease, the lease extensions in these short-term rentals or mid-term rentals is really high, like 50 to 60% of the people. Actually, I don't know the statistic, but I know that they tend to extend. But running our numbers super quick, top line, 3 months completely empty. So you've got 3 tenants, each staying 3 months. You're still looking at right around 15 grand a year in revenue. And then you've got 3 months out of the year to use the property if you want. Yeah. So, and again, I've got detailed reports on this with all the line item pricing, but I just kind of wanted you guys to see. And so we've got units starting at 235,000, 1 bedrooms. Do you guys have lockouts, Liz? I'm sorry. This was a last minute addition.
Yeah, just they're all studios or 1 bedrooms.
Okay, cool. Yep. Got it. Studios are 1 bedroom. So they're smaller. Super small nut though, guys. $210 a month. You got the tax exoneration. So it's a very small holding cost, which also keeps your risk down. And obviously owning a condo versus a home, you don't have to repair things like the roof by yourself. And in a burn project, the nice thing about this developer, guys, and the reason we are sharing the mic here today is because when you buy in a good project, for example, you buy with Bern or you buy with one of 3 or 4 other really good developers, you don't have to replace the pool in 3 years. You don't have to put in a new $100,000 elevator in 10 years, right? You don't have those massive shared expenses that crush your bottom line. So yeah, you do want to buy quality in Panama, and it's not always quality in Panama. Like I said, Bern has been building for 40 years, decades. They've got modern kitchens, spacious bedrooms. Outdoor spaces are the bee's knees. And obviously the amenity list is comparable to a 5-star hotel. I can get you all the details in terms of floor plans, availability, finishings. But what I can tell you is this. Generation Tower just started construction on Friday. Prices are always the lowest in this exact moment, which is also why I wanted to do the webinar today. This project is going to capitalize on everything that's going on in Panama right now, and also everything that's going to be happening in the future in terms of the direction the market is moving in. So let me ask, if all this property was just kind of just a great place to get away to, spend some time in Costa del Este, some time in Panama, a couple months out of the year, 240 grand, would it be worth it? Get a little footprint in this market. How about generate a steady income and avoid the typical headaches of an Airbnb that we've exhaustively discussed? Or if you could purchase ahead of the masses before it's done, pre-construction pricing. So guys, this is the last slide. Kind of all the details on Generation Tower. It's 30 days. So it's basically you can get in, reserve a unit, $5,000 today. 30 days to complete, 15%. You can see it on the slide. 12 months, 10%. 24 months, another 10%. 36 months, 5%. One thing I didn't cover in one of the slides is, okay, it's starting construction in last week. They're expecting around 30 months. Liz, cover your ears. Do you mind? Cover your ears. Everybody delays in Panama. So plan on delays. We love Bern. They'll get it done, but it always takes longer. So figure 36 months, maybe 40 months. It's going to be a minute. But you are buying early. So again, Homeowners Association, $3.50. Let me go just with some common FAQs and then we'll open up the floor. This is going to be built, as I mentioned, in about 36 to 40 months, I would say. HOAs, $3.50, about 32 cents a square foot, guys. Under $250 a month. What else is in the area? Well, you guys know Costa del Este, obviously the Westin is there. Among a lot of wonderful amenities, multiple shopping centers, great brand new hospital, parks. It's very safe. You get traffic because, hey, it's Panama City and it's a city. But yeah, that's just a fact of life in Panama. What else we got here? What happens if they don't deliver? So this is an important one. First of all, to lock in, it's $5,000. Obviously, if you choose not to purchase, then you get that money back, no problem. If for some reason Bern doesn't deliver, contractually, they have to give you their money back, your money back. It's in the contract. They are a very reputable developer. Worst case scenario, if a developer goes belly up, somebody comes in, usually the bank bails them out with another developer, finishes the project. But we have to have catastrophic issues going on, and there is almost no precedent in Panama for that happening, of a tower of this size with bank financing and a developer like Bern, but I think it's important to at least acknowledge it. So we have a lot of questions. And let me jump to the ones. Okay, so Abdiel Smith asked, could Liz talk about Uptown? So not right now, but I can get you info on it, Abdiel. It's a great project. We are selling it as well. It's downtown, right off of Avenida Balboa. I like the angle. I think, there are some considerations that you might want to think about for that one, but it is awesome. Okay, does Generation Tower offer conventional 20% down mortgages or the 40% that typically you see with agents? So I think, Charles, I can answer that question, but we'll let Liz answer it as well instead. Liz,
Look,
did you hear the question?
I would say, Charles, if you've only got 20% down and you're after longer terms, I do work with a mortgage broker here in Panama that's actually recently been getting me pre-approvals. The only thing is, if you put in all your documents, they're going to have to be resubmitted when the building's done to make sure that your financial situation hasn't changed. Generally, though, in Panama, local financing is super difficult. A lot of people like the developer financing concept because there's no pre-approval. You've got 5 years to pay it off after the building's done. So there's pros and cons, but yeah, we can chat with you about that.
For sure. Yep. No, I like working with Bern. They're a bit easier in terms of their credit requirements as well, because they are very comfortable with the collateral for the loan. Obviously, They know they can resell it if they need to. Okay. So let's see here. I'm just going top to bottom. Well, I guess I should go bottom to top out of everybody. Oh no, Charles, you can't hear me. I hope everybody can hear me now. That was a 10:04. Let's see. There are companies that specifically go after a 30-90-day corporate market. I know, because I rent one of my properties in Costa del Este to them. Well, look at that. Proof of concept. Thank you, Kolja. Okay, here. Sorry, we're just taking them one by one. What is the best way to open a business or personal bank accounts while still in the USA? Do you need an attorney to open an account? Well, that's almost the only way you can do it from abroad, and it's not easy. It'll have to be a corporate account. Be prepared to wait for a long time just to get approvals if they ever come. Liz, any insight on opening a bank account?
You need a lawyer, and you actually need to come here. I mean, you can do it. You hear of people going into the bank and being able to do it, but the most important advice is don't try and reinvent the wheel. Bureaucracy here can be a real pain. Get a lawyer that can help you do it, and but you will have to come down to actually sign off so they can make sure you're not like a money launderer.
Right. Yep. Okay. Eric asks, can the materials like web links be distributed via email to tenants? Absolutely. You can plan on it. Oh, we have a Generation Tower buyer on here. Congrats. Hopefully this was helpful. Here's a big one. Do owners have the option of managing the unit, or does it have to be managed by Bern? Liz?
Me?
Yeah.
So the short-term rental license is held by Bern. So if you're doing short-term rentals, it does have to be through Bern. If a formal management company comes in that wants to work with Bern's on-site management company, that can also be arranged as long as the pricing is set the same so they don't undermine the market. But pretty much the short-term rentals, it goes through on-site management.
That's short-term rentals, guys. We love you, Liz. But I am going to be advising my people to not go after short-term rental market, but rather anything above 45 days, which sort of falls outside of the license. And yes, so we will be able to manage it in-house. You don't need a property manager if you don't want one, but for the reasons I discussed, you might want to consider it. All right, so let's see here. Going back, Liz, I want to grab the ones that refer to you as well, because you're being very nice about sticking around. Okay, let's see here. Oh, if you invest in this, do you choose the 3 months you want to use the unit? No. I was using that as like a super conservative, oh my gosh, if you only rent it out for like 9 months out of the year just because. But obviously the goal, if you're an investor, is rent it out 12 months out of the year. You can pick and choose whatever and however you want to use your unit, as well as if you even want to rent it out or not. It's not like this is a condo hotel in the sense of you have to put it in the rental pool if you want to own. You come down and use it and never rent it out for a single day. Yep. Charles, Liz, would Bern considering installing a croquette court instead of a tennis court? What is croquette?
Oh, Charles, I'm going to be contacting you because I've got something for you. Yes.
Okay,
I've been chatting
nice.
with someone that knows you.
Okay, look at that. Should midterm rentals be furnished? Yes, they have to be furnished. And if you decide to rent with Bern, you will need to have their furniture package. So it's not a bad idea to go ahead and just get that and then modify it accordingly that way. If you ever want to throw it in their pool, then you can. But yes, they are always furnished. Okay. Oh boy. Here we go. Liz, you're on the hot seat. I heard that Bern is in a big lawsuit with the Mota family now. Can you talk about that?
Yes, absolutely. So Empresas Bern as a company is called Empresas Bern. They have multiple companies, and funds are often being loaned from banks. They're loaned from different family members. They're loaned from different groups in Panama. The Mota family own Copa Airlines, and Bern did a project with them, the town center mall that was built. So there is stuff going on right now. Empresas Bern, what you need to know is that each building has its own trust. So anytime you buy into an Empresas Bern building, all the funds go into that trust, and the funds are not mingled between buildings. So anyone that sent funds in for Generation Tower, the funds go to Generation Tower through that trust. So funds don't get intermingled amongst empresas within the Empresas Bern company.
Yeah, no, guys, I thank you, Liz. And that's something that we have spoken with extensively, both with Liz and by third parties, to ensure that deposits are going to be safe and that Bern is, protected. Certainly buyers of this project, Generation Tower, and all of their units, all of their projects, because as Liz mentioned, they put them in what's called fideicomisos, which are trusts that are separate entities. Awesome. Okay, Brent, highway expansion. I did a webinar on the highway expansion. Coronado, Playa Caracol, up to midterm and long-term rentals. Hold on, let me reread this. With the highway expansion open, the Coronado, Playa Caracol, up to midterm and long-term rentals, i.e. commute to the city. Okay, it's kind of out of context, but maybe, not yet, not for a while. I would say not until the metro's done, unless you want to start work at like 10 o'clock in the morning, because traffic is still pretty heavy coming and going during rush hour. All right, so let's see here. How is the market for midterm rentals in Coronado, San Carlos, specifically, since the webinar focused mainly on the city? You're right. Yeah. So the thing about short-term rentals is they are legal in Panama City under 45 days. You can totally do them outside of the city. How are they doing? They're doing okay outside of the city. Obviously, you can plan on being booked from like October or November to like April in the beach. Of course, Liz. Oh, Michael, come on back, brother. I love it.
Some questions about Coronado and the beach regions.
Good man. Yes. Swoop in. Enlighten us, sir.
Yeah, it's a great region. So the thing about Coronado or San Carlos, this region, it's very seasonal. So you would see around November through March high occupancy, very high. After that, it's more tricky.
November through March.
But yeah, you always have people interested. It's a very high demand, and especially during the season. The thing with Coronado is for some reason in Coronado there are many people searching for lower rents. I would say that sometimes they're looking around 1,000. Around San Carlos, you would have people with the budgets like 2,000 plus 3,000. So if you have better quality projects outside of Coronado,
good insight.
The demand is definitely there.
Cool. No, I love it. And he sees it because it's on his platform. People also look on places like Encuentro 24, Compra Alquile, obviously all the other booking sites. You can advertise midterm, so it's kind of like you can incorporate your calendar multiple calendars and use one platform as a hub, whether that's flats.com. I don't know if you guys have that capability, knowing you, Michael, probably, possibly. Yeah.
Yes. We work. However, there's one thing important when you mention the calendar with the midterms. That typically the midterms doesn't work the way that you open your calendar for entire year. So you would often not allow somebody to check in the April next year. So essentially, you often work only with what you got available right now. If it's free, you would allow client to check in the next 7 days. That's what you would do. And then eventually you would allow bookings if you know that somebody will check out. But normally you prefer to not stack the bookings when you do midterms like you do on Airbnb. You prefer to deal with who is checking in right now and eventually one person after, because just extension rate is so high that normally your current tenant will stay longer there.
Yep, good insight, sir. Thank you. All right, I'm just looking at the questions here. Altos del Maria, what are you seeing, Michael? I mean, we don't do much rentals up in Altos. I don't have a whole lot of insight on a midterm market in Altos.
Just a sec. Is this nearby Cerro Azul? No, let me check.
No, it's out by the beach, about an hour west and then 45 minutes north.
Yeah, less demand in that region. I remember people asking. The thing is like that. When we don't have portfolio there, we don't get requests. Sometimes when we got listings, we post them, then people asking for them. We don't have much things going on in this region, so we don't know. I heard a question before about Punta Chame, that region. There are people actually staying in Punta Chame for midterms. Actually, there is a lot of people doing that because Punta Chame it's the great place for kite surfing, and kite surfers not coming for weekend, they coming for entire season. If you do midterm rentals in Punta Chame, in that region, you will have people coming for entire season staying there.
Yeah. Here's a good one from Chelsea. What do you find, and I've got an opinion on this as well, the most common or attractive bedroom bathroom size for a midterm rental? Michael?
Not sure if it's about size. It's more about what's on that space. You mentioned earlier that you need working desk. So I would not focus on the side. It's about smart architecture, right? I actually remember, there is this budget place in the Panama City that did very well with the midterms. It was called Sevilla Suites. It was a hotel, but it was like this a little bit apart hotel because they had this like small studio and a small kitchen. You can check it as example of how you can have a small unit which is rentable for extended stays. We had many people staying there for monthly periods in Sevilla Suites.
Totally. I think the colloquial term is cute, something well built, nicely designed, and Bern does a good
working
job
desk.
of that. Cool. No, that is insightful. Chelsea, hopefully that's helpful. Focus less on the bed bath combination and more on kind of the quality of the design, the furnishings. I would argue that a good bed gets you great reviews. Spend money on beds and pillows. I don't know. Are you a mate drinker, Michael?
Yes.
Same.
Better than coffee.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, let's see. The status of HOAs in Panama, Bernard. Well, the laws have changed quite a bit and given more power to HOAs, certainly to obligate people to, for example, show up to a homeowner association meetings, which I personally love. We do get a lot of absentee ownership in Panama. Homeowners associations sometimes become paralyzed by that. The nice thing about getting in a building, in a Bern building, for example, is they stay vested in that project. That's the other reason that I did the Margaritaville webinar a while back, is they stick around. A lot of these developers build and then leave, not leave Panama per se, but they don't have any vested interest in the continued success of the building. So yeah, HOAs, I mean, Bernard, if you want to expand on that question, the status of HOAs in Panama, happy to, loop in one of the experts as well here. Premium housing project in Colón. Man, I mean, Kareem, I think you're on to something, buddy. Liz, take note. I would love to see Cologne flourish in this election term, in this presidential term under Molino. You know, they all talk about doing great things for Cologne. He's certainly doing some things for the crime, but not always, not enough and not fast enough. I love Cologne. I think there's a lot of industry up there. Obviously, the canal and all the shipping logistics, free trade zone, the giant bioenergy project. There's a lot of energy production, not just the bioenergy, but like, I don't know. I'm speaking out of my league in terms of all the different energy production, but I know that the Chinese built like a $2 billion natural gas facility up there that helps process it and then ship it away. Okay, in Florida, okay, I hear you, Bernard. They're required to reserve funds for storms, thus increasing costs. So Panama, you got a spectrum in terms of homeowners association, fiscal health. And I would say places like Florida, where you're paying for this same apartment, okay, so we've got a 700 square foot apartment. You might pay upwards of $2,000 a month, right? And that's going to include insurance and reserves, all kinds of insurance, crazy insurance, right? Versus, and giant reserves too. So then you have a problem, and sometimes you get the reserves to take care of it. Versus in Panama, the way it happens is your homeowners association stays super low. Now, why does it stay low? I'll tell you the good news first. The good news is that services are cheaper in Panama. So we don't have to pay the security guard $5,000 a month or the security company $8,000 a month. He gets, $900 a month. Maybe you have 2 turns there. So, things are cheaper to repair and maintain in Panama. So you've got lower operating costs to begin with, but you also have less of a tendency to save for a rainy day and more of a tendency to just ding dong. Hey, we're putting in a new pool, so everybody's got to kick in $800 over the next 3 months, right? Or where we're painting the building. And that's why it is so important, Bernard, to get with a good developer. So you're not repainting your building within 3 years of purchasing it, because that happens here in Panama. And we talked about retiling your brand new pool, or you get a cheapskate developer who doesn't put any furniture in the pool. So then you got to furnish your pool and everybody's got to kick in $2,000 at the beginning. So, Liz, Michael, thank you guys both for hopping on this, by the way. Anything to add to any of these questions or comments? I'm just monologuing on.
I think what we got going for us in Panama too is that developers have to start paying the maintenance fee for any unsold or any undelivered inventory from the date that the building gets its occupancy permit.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's the first year, right? Yeah. Michael?
I can just mention that the thing that you was talking about Costa del Este, and I have to say this is the place that have a crazy demand and no inventory at all. Like it desperately need monthly rentals. Because I give you an example. We got when you have those towers where they are normally large units, like 3 bedrooms plus. You got visitors, you got family visiting you, and sometimes you don't want to have your mother-in-law, kids, and your office sometimes in the same place. You need some unit to put them in, and you don't have anything. Essentially, the hotel you showed in Costa del Este is packed because there is no alternative to that place. Like this is the only place to leave your family and business partner visiting. So Costa del Este desperately need more inventory for midterm rentals, and I'm sure the demand is here. The demand for sure is here.
Well, thanks for mentioning that. Definitely helpful. And that's that's kind of the angle, right, guys? Underserved market. You guys are both amazing. Liz, Michael, thank you, especially for hopping on at the end. I think that's what really added value here. Zena had one more question, and then we'll let you guys get back to your day-to-day here. If you purchase, can the purchase be used to qualify for an investment visa? Of course. Yeah, definitely. And in fact, now even the finance part can be rolled in as qualification. Now, these particular units won't get you up to the threshold. I think it's got to be 300,000. But you can do like a CD or something to make up the difference, right? So, or just buy 2 units. Ta-da! Awesome. And we can certainly help you do that. Zena, So we appreciate you guys. And let's see, any more? Isn't the threshold? It's not, Chelsea. They've extended it. They've just extended it within the last week or two. It is not going up to 500,000. At least that's the decree I saw. Liz, have you heard similar, or Michael?
Yes, exactly. Yep. Officially 300 for another year. Yep.
Still for another year. Clock is ticking, Chelsea. Anyway, guys, thank you both for joining us. Thank you everybody for watching. You can always just shoot me an email. That's my email right there. You know how to get a hold of me. And have a great day, everyone.
See ya.
Okay. Ciao.